I figured it was time to make a video about being a pro-life atheist and how my journey has gone so far with that, as well as how things are going currently. So when I first came out as an atheist and of course stayed pro-life, the reactions from the atheist community were a little harsher than those in the Christian community.
Well, yeah, it's half logical, half illogical. Maybe you can already guess which I'm going to say is which. Greetings and welcome there, people of YouTube. This is Lessons Reported doing a video response to Albany Rose on her video discussing being a quote-unquote pro-life atheist. So with that stated, let us get to it and just see how founded Miss Rose's position actually is.
Interesting enough, because a lot of them treated atheism like it was a religion. Like how because I was an atheist, I automatically either had to be liberal, a feminist, hate religion, how I had to be for the right to an abortion. And when people found out I was pro-life, they really made it clear that I was desperately clinging to my religious beliefs and how eventually I will let them go because it's only natural.
Or they understand the facts that, just like homosexuality, there is no secular argument against abortion rights, so therefore it left them a little bit confused how a non-religious atheist could hold non-secular views on women's rights. That's not really religious thinking, it's just merely surprise at the inconsistency of the application of your reasoning.
And what many don't seem to understand, even though I explained it time and time again, was when I was Christian, I was actually pro-choice. Granted, I was young, but from what I would read in the Bible and Sunday school, I could not understand how people thought God was pro-life. Have you read the Bible? It didn't make sense to me at all, how they thought God would want to protect the preborn.
Even more surprising, you sacrifice part of your reasoning when leaving religion. Anyway, on the usage of the word preborn, preborn is a very ambiguous one, so I'd suggest being very careful. Semen is preborn, carbon is preborn, but I think I know why you're most likely using this phrase. It's because it's an appeal to emotions. It's a word that people associate with babies, etc. So, yeah.
And when I grew up a little, became a teenager, and for just shy of 9 years, I fell into the New Age movement. I stayed pro-choice. Many of you know I had an abortion when I was 16, and that also weighed in on me being pro-choice. And it wasn't really, I became pro-life almost 3 years ago now. And I feel as though, since I became an atheist 3 months ago, I feel like my pro-life convictions are even stronger. Granted, when I did believe in God, I never used God as a reason to be pro-life. So, moving on to the Christian aspect, when most of the people on my public speaker page, they knew that I believed in God. They'd followed me for quite a long time. Most of them were pretty cool, actually. It really didn't shock many people. I mean, the fact that I stopped believing in God shocked people, but, I stayed pro-life, so what did they care?
Firstly, let me state that I am sorry to hear that you personally regret your decision. But that does not change the facts for everyone else. I am going to have to expect, and only accept, an objective backing on why abortion is wrong. So you were anti-choice when you were religious. You've been anti-choice 3 years and atheist only 3 months. May I make a suggestion on why maybe you weren't anti-choice earlier on? Maybe it's because, as you mentioned, you were very young. I don't mean to be patronising or condescending in this, as I myself am very young, but could that account for that factor, maybe why you hadn't given it much thought, etc.?
The only people that truly seemed to have an issue with this were these folks that I found on Students for Life. And these people, this little organization of theirs, if you want to call it, they pretty much hate anyone who isn't their branch of Protestant. I mean, they don't like me because I'm me and because I had an abortion. And these are the people that really give the pro-life movement a bad name. Yeah, they're those people. But they hate Catholics just as much as they hate atheists. So they were saying how someone who is secular can't be pro-life because of multiple reasons.
Mainly because there is no secular argument, at least that I have come across or encountered, that supports being anti-choice that stands up to scrutiny.
But ultimately that there can't be such things as pro-life atheists because we have no morals. So of course I had to comment. And I was basically just stating, well, I am a pro-life atheist. Not beginning an argument or saying how they're bad or wrong, just, well, they are wrong, but, you know, hey, we can work together. And what it came down to was constant freaking graphics being thrown in my face and Bible quotes, which is the stupidest thing you can do to someone who doesn't believe.
Now that we can agree on.
And how I don't have God's morality, or because I don't believe in God, I don't have morality, so there's no possible way that I could want to protect a child.
There you go again with that bogus language. The fact is that you and I don't have some bullcrap Sky Daddy excuse to be anti-choice. We have the field of ethics in philosophy from which we need to discuss things. You need to supply an argument beyond the factually erroneous, it's a child, which only works if you believe in some claptrap notion of a spiritual soul. Prior to the end of the second trimester, aka the start of the third trimester, i.e. the cut-off point for all non-essential abortions, the fetus lacks a nervous system beyond that of a low-order crustacean. A shrimp has more feeling power. On top of this, whilst the motor functions of the brain have already developed in the fetus, it does not have the capacity for conscious, higher cognitive thought, which is required for human identity. Lastly, the fetus is not viable independent of the expecting mother. Hint, expecting mother. These three things together are what we have gone from to decide that the fetus does not have any of the necessary features required for the rights of a fully fledged human. Thus the rights of the mother supersedes that of the fetus.
It's only Christians do that. So that was really my only bad experience, though. Except a couple days ago, I had a really... Oh, I lied. Okay. So, a couple days ago on my pro-life page, there was a woman telling me how she's a Christian and she believes she's pro-life, and then went on to say how abortion in cases of rape, incest, are between her and God. And I asked her, I said, well, I don't believe in God, so, you know, my reasoning for being against abortion in cases of rape and incest have nothing to do with that.
And that's another case that will be tackled by people far more literate in the facts around abortion than yourself. You are anti-choice in a situation where a woman has already had her body violated by another human. That is just as effective as coming along and raping her again. You are really going to have to start giving reasons as the shit is just building up.
And her response was, she quoted me during the, I don't believe in God, and then end quote, and said, well, there you go. And I had to reply with, don't you think it's strange or kind of funny that an atheist is no exceptions pro-life, while the Christian, who when the majority of Christians are pro-life and believe God damns abortion, that you're for exceptions?
Yes, I would hope that you know better. And this just goes to prove that whilst IQ and religiosity are negatively correlated, anomalies like you do still exist.
So, I thought that was kind of funny. Some of you might find that funny. But all in all, it's actually been a really great experience. I've had a couple interviews. I was just actually interviewed by Secular Pro-Life. I think it's for Secular Pro-Life. And it actually has to do with being pro-life and part of the LGBTQ community, which I'm really excited for this. And I will eventually, well, I've made a couple of videos like that, but I may make one in the future.
Do these organisations actually offer any arguments, or do they just keep going round with the same factual inaccuracies?
But all in all, it's been really positive, and it's fun, and I really enjoy it. But I wanted to end this video with talking about why I'm pro-life. I will happily, I want to make a video about why I'm an atheist, but this one is just why I am pro-life and why I can be one as an atheist.
Finally, I hope we can get somewhere.
And a lot of people seem to think that because that an embryo, a zygote, a fetus, that they're not human, that they're not alive. And I'm so thankful for the pro-choicers that I know, because they are smart enough to understand basic biology, anatomy, and what the hell makes a human, and understands that two humans can't make something that's not a human that magically gets born and then becomes a human. Yeah. That people believe that is amazing. Or that a living egg and a living sperm can meet and make something that is not living, which would then be dead. So basically, possibly, no, just dead. And then becomes alive at a certain point.
Firstly, straw man. Contrary to popular belief, abortion isn't life versus non-life. If you eat a plant, you are not pro-life. You are pretending to be pro-human life. Fact is, what makes a human? Is it biological makeup, aka being slightly altered from the host? If so, then both virus-mutated cells and the cancer cells match that definition. Fact is, prior to the cutoff point, a fetus lacks the ability to survive as an independent entity. It lacks the ability of identity and lacks the ability to feel pain. It has not yet developed the stage for higher cognitive functioning to develop its own personality, etc. It is an it at this stage, not a they. They implies personhood, which requires identity, which requires cognitive functioning. Note, this is not necessarily perfect cognitive functioning, but we're on about an entity with zero cognitive functioning. If I chopped off my arm and managed to keep it alive, my arm would not be a person in its own right. It would not become my genetic twin. Why? Because it lacks personhood. People as a collective entity have rights. You need to have higher cognitive functioning to give sentience.
No. And I've met people who believe that it's not dead or alive, which, trust me, do not ask me to explain that. I don't get it. Basically, I'm sitting here like zombie fetus, because that's the only thing I can come up with. And really, that's just what it comes down to. Or where the arguments come from is the bodily rights, because it is using a woman's body, and because the being is not sentient. And to me, I completely understand those reasonings. If I ever went back to be pro-choice, which I don't see happening, it would be because it would have nothing to do with because it's alive. I'm not actually pro-all life, and I don't mean I'm pro-innocent life. But, you know, it just has to do with why on earth there is no logical reason to end or terminate a child's life for someone else.
It is not a child. You even acknowledge that there's an objective basis for pro-choice and then make factual errors to support your own position. That's your problem. That's why you will not convince a sincerely thought-out individual. You are relying on the same fallacious arguments that the religious people use.
And a lot of that will come, you know, a lot of people I've noticed understand why someone can be pro-life, they're against abortion, if someone uses it as birth control, which is just weird to me, but not in cases of rape and incest. And that one seems to really, what it comes down to when it's really tricky. But I'm pro-life, no exceptions, even as an atheist, because you wouldn't kill a child if if his or her father was a rapist and they were born. That wouldn't even be a thought. They're a kid. You would say it doesn't matter who their dad is. Their dad is the one that needs to be punished, not the person. Well, why should that matter before they're born? Because people have to realize that's a really tricky fence to walk.
That is a false analogy. So why don't we actually start discussing things that are more like what we're discussing? You know, accepting for a moment the hypothetical that a fetus is a conscious human being with the same rights, etc. So there's a Russian oligarch and his son is terminally ill. The oligarch arranges to have you kidnapped and then surgically attaches your body to his son without your consent to enable his son to survive. Does he or does he not have the right to use your body in that way? If you say anything but yes, your entire position is gone. Fact is, you haven't even got to that stage of a fetus as a fully fledged human with the same rights. But even if it was, that's not what you are arguing for. If you say no here, you are denying an actual person with an identity and sentience and consciousness something that you are demanding for something that lacks all of those traits. You are asking for more than human rights.
So, in my state of Colorado, it is legal to abort through all 9 months. For people say that it has to be for a medical reason, but it's not. If you research Dover Spalton, you will understand that if a woman is stressed, and I mean this seriously, if a woman is stressed or just doesn't think she can do it, she can go to an abortion clinic at 36 weeks and have an abortion. And that's it. That's all she has to say. There doesn't have to be some magical thing going on.
That is a fucking lie. Non-essential abortions go up to the usual 24th week, whilst essential life-saving abortions, or ones done to prevent severe fetal malformation, go up to the 34th week and then stop altogether. All abortions are stopped. This shows just how bankrupt your position is morally. You have to lie and deceive in attempts to shock the ignorant.
And you know, I know a lot of people who are against abortion in the they're for abortion as a choice in the first trimester, and then after that they dwindle it down a lot. But the thing is what changes from one day to the next? Really not much. It's kind of like evolution. There's a really long gradual change, except in this case it's pretty much 10 months.
Yes, but the point is that before the third trimester, the fetus definitely feels no pain and definitely isn't conscious. That point is picked as a safety net to prevent any such suffering from occurring. Your personal incredulity, aka your ignorance as to why, is not an argument against basic rights. Rather, it shows your lack of understanding.
So, my line is, why? What's the excuse? There is none.
Now hang on a second. Go back to earlier.
Really, that's just what it comes down to. Or where the arguments come from is the bodily rights, because it is using a woman's body, and because the being is not sentient. So my line is, why? What's the excuse? There is none. Really, that's just what it comes down to. Or where the arguments come from is the bodily rights, because it is using a woman's body, and because the being is not sentient. So my line is, why? What's the excuse? There is none.
Do you see the inconsistency? Carry on.
And I understand a lot of people want to use the emotional card, and a lot of people actually say that pro-lifers will use the emotional aspect and use God. Well, mine's not, and I've noticed most pro-choicers will do that. That we're not thinking of the women, we hate women, we love the fetus. And the thing is fetus to me is no different than baby. I easily called all of my children fetus while they were in the womb. It wasn't negative at all. It's what they were. They were a fetus. I'm not ageist. Where they were in human development was irrelevant.
Do you spit or do you swallow, or do you take into consideration that, yeah, stage of development kinda, sorta is a vital factor. I have laid out an objective basis for my position, and you have acknowledged that you understand the whole point of sentience and individual rights. Your only argument has been an appeal to emotion by going, that is a baby. I feel it is a baby. That is an appeal to emotion, the normal one that we come across rather than your straw man version. Stop attempting to deceive others.
Just like, next time I get pregnant, that child will be as important to me as my living children. And the thing is, most people don't seem to get that.
Because there's nothing to get. It's factually inaccurate and preys on people's emotions. I'm sorry, but this is by far one of the hardest videos I have ever had to do. Just with how disgusting and how manipulative it is. How it tweaks the facts, how it just attempts to dispose of reality. It really does get to me, this one. So yes, I hope you guys have enjoyed this one. It just shows that atheists can be as absolute ludicrous as creationists, etc. in many cases. And I really wish I did not have to make this video. So yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed somewhat. If you like this one work, then please check out my Patreon. Don't forget to click like, comment, subscribe, and share on Facebook and Twitter, as well as Google Plus maybe. Share on Google Plus as well, because I do get some traffic from there, I've been noticing. So if you want to check out my Facebook and Twitter, links down below as always. This is Essence of Thought, hoping you're all doing well. Take care and out.